Hey guys, welcome to another Trade Genius podcast. Bob and Phil here. As usual, guys, if you want to trade like an insider, stay tuned. We got an episode you're not going to want to miss. We're also going to touch on some news, so let's dive in.
Trade Genius.
Hey guys, we got Black Friday specials. They're really cool. We have the best pricing for the year. You can get our basic package, our advanced packages, our VIP rooms, software, trade options, trade crypto, trade the futures. With us, get our indicators, best prices of the year. Take advantage of it. Thanks for listening.
All right, Bob. So kind of busy day in terms of news. So let's go over that real quick. Nvidia, the earnings came out and the whole market was watching to see what would come of that. And basically, pretty much in line with what the market thought was going to be the case. So didn't really see much of a market reaction actually once the news was digested, but they did warn of significant China slowdown. So revenue for Q4 is probably going to be a lot less than what we had been seeing up until this point. So there's that, a little bit bearishness there. Fed also came out with their minutes. They noted consumer weakness as well, but same story from the Fed, higher for longer. They're not really seeing inflation come down to where they want to see it and stay down. It's not just getting down, it has to stay down too. And I think they clarified that super core, they really want to see that back to pre-COVID levels, which means that has to go down to 2% and stay there for a couple of quarters, I think. And then, only then, could you talk about any kind of rate cuts. The other big ticket item affected crypto today, and that was Binance had a DOJ settlement. CZ, he's stepping down. He admitted guilt and paid a huge fine. All total, it's going to be about 4.3 billion in fines. What that means is Binance.us still will remain. Binance.com will still remain, just under different leadership, and CZ technically should not have anything to do with that for 3 years as a probation type punishment. So that's been a big elephant in the room for crypto. That's now out of the way. So what does that mean for these, going back to Nvidia? Let's take a look at that chart real quick, in terms of what does this all mean. Nvidia, you'll notice on the heat indicator, Bob, we tapped out. This is the weekly chart because these moves have been so big, you really have to look at them on a weekly time frame. Now the heat indicator got overbought and signaled a sell over here back in December of 2020, and then that rolled over pretty hard from there. We had a big run up, and now the heat indicator again is saying that this area is tapped out. And yes, we are a little higher than where this had signaled, not by much though. We call this a divergent high. But essentially, when you get these readings, you're looking for an exit, and real trouble will begin, much like it did over here when it topped out and then broke the support at 270. You have the same situation here at about 400. So I expect over time this rolls over. Now this may not play out till Q1 or Q2 of next year, but I do expect, because of this reading and the divergent high on the weekly, ultimately we'll get back to 400, and then eventually that breaks and we will give back, I think, a huge chunk of this move, starting with this big breakout that we had back here, which would take you back to 338. Now, in terms of the Binance news and crypto, I think you just have to really look at what is that going to do with Bitcoin. So if we flip over to the Bitcoin chart, now here's the Bitcoin chart on the daily, same thing again, big picture view with just a simple heat indicator. If you guys want this, it's the Heat Pro. You can get it at our website, tradegenius.co. But you'll notice that we're once again in a similar situation with Nvidia. We're getting double signal up here, and I expect this move to exhaust, similar to what we saw back here and back here on some of these. What happened here was we were in big weekly resistance, which was, this area here. If you put a line on that, you got into that resistance zone of this weekly area of congestion. We tried 2 times to get through it and fell back. And you have a similar situation up here, at this weekly supply, right? Or your same situation. So, we're not going to just bust right through that. That's not how it works. These were big levels that we lost. And so this one's even a bigger level than I would say this one. So I think we're going to spend some time, we're going to have a pullback. We'll probably have another attempt at it, but ultimately I think these signals are going to play out for a pullback. And then I think like with the market, Bob, I think, we may have a pullback and then maybe a final bounce in kind of a weird Santa rally. We already had it. We might have an echo bounce, maybe potentially a higher high in the markets, but then ultimately I think we have some significant headwinds going into Q1 and Q2 of next year. So now that aside, you have some very, very interesting, it's not news, but it's a feature from Trade Genius that if you sign up for, I think you won't be disappointed because ultimately you're going to be able to trade like the insiders.
Yeah, I mean, and real quick before we jump into that is, with the heat and divergent highs, that's one of the reasons why we created the trade force indicator. It lets you see that divergent high, but you don't have to react to it until momentum abates. So that's one of the reasons why we added the trade force to our panoply of indicators, because it helps you not take a trade before momentum exhausts itself. Now, having said that, going into one of the things that has been interesting to a lot of people, that they like to know how the insiders trade. What are they trading? How are they trading it? And so for those who are interested, you can just get on our email list at tradelikeagenius.com. Just sign up for it. And starting in the beginning of December, we're going to start throwing out interesting information of buys and sells by certain Congress people, or if we see, well, probably all Congress people, if we see a congruence of stocks or Congress people buying stocks, we'll point that out to you. And also, if it dovetails into what insiders are doing at those stocks. And finally, we also have access through a service that we purchased if there's any high volumes located around the same time. So we're going to show you today, really interesting, because Phil was looking at this one stock by volume, and I was looking at it by insiders. And that's the Visa chart. And Phil, do you want to talk to him about the volume that you saw in Visa?
Yeah, and this is why this recommendation that we're going to do is going to be cool, because we look at institutional flows. I post charts in the VIP room all the time on hey, look, we got institutional flows. You don't always know if they're buys or sells, or if they're closing a trade or opening a trade. There's some tells that you can deduce that one or the other might be happening. But when you combine it with insider trading, and I don't mean insider trading, just trading by the insiders, like the executives, then you kind of have a better handle on what's going on. So here's a couple of trades on November 15th and November 16th. This was last week. These are pretty large institutional orders, fifth ranked trade in size in the history of Visa, and a 42nd ranked trade in size. So these are enormous trades. And so, the question is, well, what's going on? Well, price continued to push up, but then fell back sharply in the last day or so. And that happens sometimes when these guys are closing a position. You'll get a little bit of an overthrow, and then the trade comes in. But then now, if you couple that with the information that, look at, today, all of these inside sales going on. Well, it's not just a coincidence that this is happening with these institutional orders. There's obviously a negative outlook probably on the way for Visa going into the next year or the next quarter. And you guys can see that in the charts too, right? If this is an example where we can use it against macro data too. Credit card balances are skyrocketing. Credit card delinquencies are spiking higher. So probably doesn't bode well for forward earnings on V. So anyway, we're going to keep looking at this stuff for you guys and getting onto that list. We'll be handpicking these recommendations because you kind of have to look at the company, the situation, institutional flows, and if we have insider trading like this, I think it's going to make it very powerful in terms of, and these would be for swing trades, correct, Bob? So I think it'd be probably a good hit rate on these.
Yeah, and the information we're going to give out for free is just going to be information for you guys. So give you guys heads up, if you will. And then we're going to take that information, if you actually then subscribe to the service, is that, Phil's looking at volume, institutional volume moves. I'm looking at insiders, but then also our algorithms looking at momentum and heat rolling over or rolling higher. And, we're going to try to take this curated information and turn it into actionable plans. But at the very least, thought you guys would be interested in getting this stuff. And like I said, you'll get it if you just sign up for our emails. And then if we see anything interesting, like today, we're talking on the podcast. If we see something, we're going to bring it to your attention. And then for people who use the service, we'll turn that into actual trade ideas. And not the only thing we do, but if we find things of interest, we definitely will. And we have the ability to look at the data and filter the data, and then we take it and we further refine it to turn it into actionable information. So like I said, by 1st of December, but you can sign up for our emails now. Just go to tradelikeagenius.com. You'll get it. I'll never really charge for this stuff. Only if you join the service and you get trades. Well, there's a fee associated with being part of Trade Genius, but you get a lot of other stuff too. So with that, Phil, I thought would be interesting to share today. Slow news. Well, it's actually big news day, slow trade day. Tomorrow's going to be boring. We'll try to give you guys something interesting to listen to and to get ready to gobble your turkey, or as some of my friends eat, prime rib, because they hate turkey. turkey. So it'd be interesting to tell us, what do you guys eat for Thanksgiving? I thought everybody ate turkey. What do I know? Thanks, Phil.
See you guys.
Trade Genius.